Hello, 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 and welcome to our 45th episode of the Collective Spotlight. We had to do a little bit last minute audible pivot, if you will, and our great friend of the store, Travis Gibb, was able to fill in. Some of you guys are already familiar with Travis, whether it be from Voodoo Nations, Broke Down in Four Dead Bodies, backup stories he's done, anthologies he's done, like Cthulhu Invades Oz. If you were here at our grand opening, you know Travis Gibb. But he doesn't really need that many introductions. I'm stammering here. How are you doing, Travis?
Good. How are you?
I'm great, dude. So you're here today with like extreme purpose because you literally, I think it was yesterday, officially launched the Kickstarter. The Kickstarter went live for Voodoo 2.
Yeah. We just launched stuff for Voodoo 2, which is super exciting. We're almost 24 hours in, and we already got 101 backers. We're at 75% funded, and we got projects we love, which is super cool. So, that's such a really, really cool thing to get projects we love. I've got it before on Cthulhu Invades Oz, but that's an anthology project, right? So there's so many people. So you're like, well, I did it, but maybe they like David Byrne, or maybe they like Jonathan Hendricks because he's the next Donny Cates. Maybe they like all those other guys. It wasn't me, but this one's me. Like I could say, this is me. I'm the dude. So it's really, really cool.
Yeah, man. And it's so like you mentioned Cthulhu Invades Oz, and in between there you had Broke Down 4 Dead Bodies, issue 4.
Yeah.
You've ran 3 Kickstarters this year already, or was Cthulhu the end of last year?
Cthulhu was technically the end of last year. Yeah.
But how do you find the time, dude? Because you not just run them, they're not just your books, but you market, you campaign. I mean, you do the whole ring, for 30 days. How do you pace yourself to do that?
It's hard, man. It's really, really hard. Like even right now, Broke Down, I'm picking up the books on Friday to ship out next week. So I'm even behind because I normally like to ship out before I launch. And I've got another book that's scheduled after this, a new book called Expired. It's really, really hard to schedule all these things and to try to do it. Luckily, I've been doing this for a few years, so I've been able to try to figure out a proper way to do it. But really, it's just getting these things in development. Like I'm developing a new project right now with a new artist. So it's just wrapping these things up and moving next thing. In fact, the Collective has a Kickstarter launching that I'm putting together, for that book right there. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into these things, and they take months and months and months. Like you can see, the Collective has the book already, and we haven't launched a Kickstarter because there's a lot to it. There's a lot of variables. It's not even just the book itself. It's what bank account you put it under, because it's going to be taxes. Like there's a lot of little things that people just don't think about that you got to factor in.
Yeah. And another thing that I wanted to mention, because you talked about that book and everything like that, you talked about. Oh, there you go, Steven. So you talked about how you've been doing this for a long time. Where did you learn the ins and outs of Kickstarter? Was this trial and error for you? I mean, obviously you've done Broke Down 4 times, you've done Voodoo before, you've done a lot of projects, but a lot of people go to you as kind of the guy to help them with Kickstarter. You do offer that sometimes as tiers, like a consultant role. So where did you learn some of the ins and outs of how to work a Kickstarter?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I joined, there's a group called a Comics Tribe, and it runs about $1,000, so it's not cheap. Actually, it ran about $1,000 when I did it. I think it's now like $1,500, where they kind of teach you kind of course-wise what it's like to run a Kickstarter. Yeah, your quality is really bad. I'm not sure what's going on. Or is it my quality was really bad? I don't know.
I think it's
ours. We have
bad
internet.
It's the internet.
Okay.
I think you look fantastic.
Good, we'll do it live. It's fine. So I took that class. Tyler James does it. For those who don't know who he is, he's Comics Tribe. Hit books, Sink, The Wailing Blade, The Red 10. Those are all books under his brand. So I took his class and course and kind of learned the ropes. And then I have a degree in marketing. So my primary job is web design. So I take those two, kind of put it together and try to just figure it out and put it together, because it's not easy. Not everyone who launches a Kickstarter succeeds or does well.
No, yeah, I've we, you know about the Collective initiative and how it's a lot of self-starter, small print books. And I've noticed that some of the guys that have walked in my store and pushed a book, when I look up and do some research, and granted, I'm excited to have the book in store, I look it up, and they actually failed on their first Kickstarter. And, you know, and that record is there, and, you know, I see, I'm like, oh, well, they did it right the second time and everything. So that's really cool. The reason you're here, Travis, is Voodoo Nations #2. Our customers have been asking about it forever because we did the store exclusive. You guys came out and signed twice for it, you and Luke. You guys were moving the story at the very end. We saw the preview that it was going to New Orleans. Talk about where issue 2 finds us.
Yeah, so we picked back up with RJ and Brent. As most people read Voodoo Nations 1, like, you don't need anything else. You're like, oh, okay, this is a weird dark story. So at the end of the story, little spoiler, so if you don't want to hear it, go away for a minute, come back. Brent dies, and he's having to deal with that, and when he doesn't come back quite right. He's a little different. His view on life has changed. And New Orleans is, you know, a place of sin. If you've never been there, you're fully aware of that. Myself learned when I went that bar cutoffs times are important things. I didn't know that until I went. We go to New Orleans and we meet some new voodoo priests. We realize that there's a new one called Maria LeBeau. And there's a new, I'm not going to tell you the name of him, but at the end of the issue, there's a second voodoo priest. So we introduced 2 new voodoo priests, as well as Bishop Lucas puts his grubby hands out through the thing. So we really make it from Voodoo Nation in Brazil to Voodoo Nations. So RJ's still trying to figure out what's up with her husband, because her husband didn't come back right. And we kind of delve into that mystery and learn more about what's voodoo, what's with that symbol, what's with the Voodoo Nations. We kind of start unraveling that mystery.
That's awesome. And I've gotten a chance, because you've been in the store all the time, I've had a chance to see some pages. Luke Stone's a friend of the store as well. He's your artist on this book. He has improved. I've seen his book Hybrids, which we had, which was before Voodoo Nations. Then there was Voodoo Nations 1. Then he's got more hybrids, and now Voodoo Nations 2. His art has progressed so much in the last 2 years or so. What's it been like working with Luke throughout this process?
Luke's art in this is the best thing he's ever done. This is better than his hybrids work. And he actually admitted that today on Twitter. Like, flat out is his best work he's done, because it was really important to me. As I'm starting to write, you know, as I finish up Broke Down, as I'm starting to write more things, I'm starting to develop a style in like standards. So in Broke Down, if you've read 1, 2, and 3, or even 4, if you've got the digital and read it, the car is super important to the story. Like, it is a character. So when we go to these places, Brazil needed to be a character, and now New Orleans needs to be a character. And New Orleans really needs to be a character because people know that place and that vibe. So I wanted to tell us we had to draw tons of crazy backgrounds. You know, in superheroes, they're fighting, so you can remove some of that because we care more about the punch and stuff. But that's not what this book is. This book is a very somber book, you know, until we get to issue 3 where crazy stuff happens.
So I had actually talked to Luke when he was here for our free comic book day, our grand opening, and he was like, gosh, there was nights where I hated Travis because he had me doing so many backgrounds. He said that was the most backgrounds he'd ever done in a comic book, like the buildings and everything like that. But it shows that he put a lot of love into it, because some of those pages he showed me on the streets of New Orleans, all those buildings are phenomenal. I mean, like, it was very, very clean and awesome, and he really got the sense of New Orleans in there, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I put them right on Bourbon Street. So the majority of the plot of the book takes place on Bourbon Street. But we visit some of the old haps. We visit the cemeteries nearby. I can't think of what that area is called off the top of my head. We visit that area, you know, we visit some of the stuff. But Luke took no shortcuts. So I created a bar called the Headless Horseman, that I put into it because I thought the Headless Horseman would be a really cool New Orleans bar, kind of got a vibe. And instead of like putting it off, because it could have looked like anything, because it wasn't off the beaten track, I said specifically it wasn't on Bourbon Street, but he literally took the Bourbon Street building framework and jammed it in with all the, headless horseman motif in it. So it was really cool to see him and really come out of his element. I think Luke and I have a very good relationship on these things. I think his character design is really good. I don't like crazy, sexy characters. So he did one that's a little busty and a little bigger, but still sexy. This is Maria Laveau right there. You see, she's absolutely sexy, but she's not skin and bones, right? She's not crazy stuff. So I like that. She has a little meat on her.
Seductive a little bit, like you can see her being, she's classic. And that's like one thing. What I thought was really cool about how you guys approach New Orleans, and again, I've never been there, so this might actually just be the aesthetic of there. You can correct me because I know you said you've been there.
Sure.
Even though your book takes place in modern time, in current time, it's almost like you're teleported to an older time because of how the streets are and the roads and even the aesthetic. Is that kind of the case, or is that a little bit more of his style?
You hit it right on the head. Yeah. New Orleans has a crazy Southern feel. They've kind of kept that. So when you look at the streets, if you get rid of all the people, you feel like you stepped into like a movie set, Yeah. It doesn't feel right. Like the sounds there, the smell, New Orleans smells really bad. Because people I'm not trying to anybody will tell you who's been there, because people just party on it, throw up on the streets. They have street sweepers clean up, but it's not enough if it happens every night, right? So they've got these dogs, and you can feel like magic and mystery there. Like we've heard so many stories in your life about New Orleans and how it is, and you get that vibe when you're there.
Yeah, and I think that's great for where you went with this story, because again, Brazil very much was a character because of its background, its nature more so. I mean, there was the Christ the Redeemer statue, but it was mostly the hills and everything like that. This allows New Orleans to be a character more so on its cityscape and its streets and things like that. And I think that's going to be really exciting. One of the other things that your book did very well, and I think it's okay for me to talk about this on there. You mentioned it to me the first time. You and Luke are both pastors.
Right.
And the book, the first issue at least, has a lot to do with Easter and everything like that. And you actually have a page there that kind of breaks it down. How much of that goes into and continues into issue 2?
Believe it or not, very little. We took, and not because we're not, we want to show an active thing. So sometimes what happens when someone goes through crises, they forget their faith. They forget where they came from. So there is mentions of faith. We revisit the characters that are in the first couple of pages. Tommy and Chrissy, that band, that Christian band, they're kind of the mentors. They were in New Orleans at the same time. So we mention it as a little thing, but it's not, and even one of your fans said, hey, is this a religious book? It's absolutely not. And you're going to feel it because it's barely mentioned in here, because what happens when we go through a crisis, we forget all of our teachings and we deal with our crisis. So RJ's worried about her marriage, who this man is. And Brent, I don't want to spoil that part, but he's lost his mind. He's a completely different dude. So what that looks about. In issue 3, we're going to play with that a lot more. I know that you love Mexican culture, so we're going to Mexico in issue 3. We're going to do Day of the Dead. So we're going to do all of that really cool stuff. And if you factor in our timelines, right, we're after Easter, so we're in May, so we got Day of the Dead coming up. So the timeline all wraps up to really get all these things of the travel. It's actually kind of cool that we're launching kind of at the time we'd be there. Like this is about the time that it would be taking place. But no, the religious aspect doesn't follow the characters, and that's on purpose. And it'll come back. It'll absolutely come back in the book because it's important to the book. But I really wanted to show that because that's real life, right? If you read a Christian book, they stand their faith the whole time, and but that's not real life. That's not the way people are. How many people who are devout Christians or Catholics their whole life, anybody's mom, grandmother, whatever, are swearing the minute their kid dies or the minute their mom died or whatever. They hate everything stuff. That's real life. So I wanted to really show what that looked like.
And one of the things that you always talked dearly about during the first issue, and you said that the second issue and so forth was going to kind of dive in it more. Voodoo Nations is actually a horror book.
Correct, yeah.
And the first issue, because you're laying down a lot of groundwork, Bishop Lucas is kind of your big bad, and he's your scary guy. But how much more are you leaning into that as the series progresses and goes to these more scary locations with New Orleans, with a lot more voodoo there, and then Day of the Dead in Mexico and things like that?
Yeah, so issue 2 is just again upping it a little bit. I think the best description would be probably I can never say it right. Automo, is that how it says?
Yeah.
Book. Yeah, kind of like that. So the first few issues you just see leaves, right, and weird visuals. By the time we get to Day of the Dead, like you'll know this is a horror book. This is really bad. Issue 2 has some horror vibes. I mean, you can see on the preview, if you go to the Voodoo Nation's Kickstarter, you can see that there's a nasty, gnarly dream, in that. But we want to show kind of the rules of the magic, and what that looks like. But starting issue 3, you're going to see it's a horror book, and you're going to see what that looks like. It gets as bloody as Broke Down 4 for those who.
I know we're putting the cart before the horse,
yeah.
But we're here in May and June, and October is a few months away. Is there any chance we can have Voodoo 3 by Halloween, or are we?
We won't have it out by Halloween, but it'll probably launch in October. Yeah, probably late October is probably our plan for release date of launching issue 3. Luke has a very busy schedule with the hybrids. He's put out 2 issues of hybrids this year. As well as all sorts of stuff. I think even the trade was this year, was it?
Yeah, no, the trade was tail end of last year. But no, that's what I'm saying. Both of you guys in the last 12 months have been super busy.
Yeah.
That's from Voodoo 1 to everything else you guys have been doing. You've been super busy. So I'm glad to see, and our customers, and again, I told you, our customers have been, when's Voodoo 2? When's Voodoo 2? So I've been keeping them updated, and now that we're officially on Kickstarter, I can kind of tell them, hey, we're on the way.
Well, also I want to remind people too, especially people who are trying to feel it out, definitely wait it out, to see what happens. But remember, we have Andrea Maldonati as our editor, and he is a Black Caravan guy. Like Shepherd is a Black Caravan. And do not think that we did not take full advantage of that expertise on how to do a proper horror book. Because he has given us edits, and the edits on issue 2, he's like, we need more scary. So we added some scarier elements to it, so we're definitely getting to that. But it's gonna balls to the walls going forward. And then this issue is really, really interesting. This issue kind of plays with more the humanity. We're playing with the humanity a little bit more. We're meeting voodoo in a different way. I want to show that the contrast to Bishop Lucas. Maria is Maria's very pretty, very attractive, versus the gnarly Bishop Lucas. But
I think that bro. Like, what are you talking about? Look at that man, bro. Look at him, that Stan Yak cover. He's like, come on.
I mean, we could reveal it here if you want, but there is a exclusive for you guys, right? You guys want to talk about it?
If you have the image, I was gonna.
I do. I do. Let's get that image up.
Yeah, so we're doing that as our second store exclusive. Our first one, actually, before you show that, I want to, because Travis, you started it all, man. And I don't give you enough credit, I feel like, but you were the first store exclusive that we ever did. This was our first venture because the price just worked, and we've done so many more since.
Right.
And you were also kind of the first Kickstarter we'd ever funded as a store, because that was foreign and weird to us. So you're kind of the pioneer of the collective initiative in a way. Me and you will share a championship belt one day.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that speaks a lot. I looked at those prices actually when I was putting up on this Kickstarter, and I was like, I can't do those prices anymore. I mean, I did similar, but it's hard to do it. It's hard to do it, but I think it's important to build relationship, and look at how much the relationship has grown. You guys had, we had a big event out there with tons of creators. We have a book with creators that are making it. When we started this, Jonathan didn't even have the recount out, and now I just did a con with him in Pensacola. Crazy people stopping to see him, and he sold out in 18 minutes for his metal cover.
Yep.
We're talking I joke that we're the future of indie comics, but now I'm starting to believe it. Right?
I've been trying to tell people, and I tell people right now that tell me, hey, I stopped collecting in the 90s and I'm back in. if you include especially the Kickstarter and everybody that's pushing their own books as well, it's a heck of a time to be an indie comic reader because there's something for everybody out there. I don't care what you like. There is something out there for you right now because there's a creator that's thinking that somewhere, you know?
Right. No, absolutely. And it's such a competitive world. You know, I just spent, 16 hours in a car with David and just talking about Scout and talking about other companies and what it's like to be an indie guy. And really, like, latch on to indie guys now because it's going to be really hard to find us very soon. And let me tell you why. With Penguin House taking Marvel, and you've got Lunar taking DC, Diamond's really going to have to pivot, and they haven't told us what that plan is. And Diamond is really where you find a lot of these indie guys. So if that doesn't work properly, you may only be able to get indie comics, that isn't Image and some of the big couple of them through Kickstarter and stuff like that. So it may drastically change the game. So we may be in our last year of indie comics as a normal form. So really latch onto them now so you know where they're at because you may not be able to find them later.
And you know who the creators are because our indie shelf is pretty much as big as a DC and Marvel combined. So
right.
Nuts. So do you have the cover? Can we show the
Yeah. Go ahead. It's there. So if you want to post it up.
Dude, I love it. You showed it to me and immediately me and Steven were like, can we get that as a cover? Like, so who was the artist on this?
His name was, hold on, let me look it up real quick. I just don't want to butcher his name. Right
there with you.
Yeah, I don't want to butcher his name real quick. His name is Mark something. Let me make sure I got it right. It is Mark Oliver.
Mark Oliver, nice. I love the cover. Never did it cross my mind to put the Infinity Gauntlet on Bishop Lucas's hand, but it looks so normal there, honestly. So I cannot wait to get that in the store.
Well, what I like about it is that even though it kind of fits the theme moving forward, right? So he killed all of you guys at the collective, at the store, acquired, Marvel powers. So we're going to have to do a DC homage. Like he's continuing to just grab things.
Yeah. And obviously we'll have somebody bring us back by the last issue,
Right. Resurrection. You guys will be a zombie. He'll be fighting you off.
I can't wait. This will be a cover series. Everybody's going to need them all.
Right.
What I really love is just that we'll be able to do this. We'll be able to bring you and Luke to sign again. Right. And we've even made some cool connections with Andrea. And I will try to, if you give me a little bit of a notice on when you're hoping to print these, I can reach out to him and hopefully just bring the trio of you guys in here to sign because he's also worked on a ton of other books we have in the store.
Yeah, no, I know Andrea would be more than happy. This is his primary job. So I'm sure if we gave him enough notice that he would be more than happy to come up. Yeah. And it's really exciting to do a second collective cover for issue 2. I know the collective loves Voodoo Nations. So many of you guys have come and thanked me and loved the cover and asked for it when I visited. So we're so happy to get this to you guys and let them know, by the way, how that you want this cover specifically, because when they do their order, they need to know, because we like to print less and not to be mean. We just like to print less to make it rarer for the people who buy it.
Yeah. So it's an issue too. So this isn't a trade secret, but naturally we're going to go a little bit lower than the issue 1. So there's going to be less of these around than there were of these. So just keep an eye out for that. And I mean, you don't have to let us know if you want it on your sub. We already actually have a long list of Voodoo Nation subs. You were the first guy that people are like, put it on my sub. And I'm like, yeah, that I can't. The system doesn't let me do that. Voodoo Nation's not in Diamond, No. So your book was the first one, but let us know. But there will be less of these. We're probably thinking somewhere between the 50 and 75. We probably will do a virgin print run, so that'll be cool. But I'm really looking forward to having this. And honestly, more so than the book, dude, I always look forward to having you in the store. We've had you in the store a few times, both with Luke and by yourself and with other people. And it's always fun, man. Again, I have to thank you for doing everything you do for the store, connecting us with cool people. Because again, Grand Opening doesn't have 18 people out there without a little bit of help from you, connecting us with guys like Kyle Willis and people that we met for the first time. So, Travis, let people know where they can find the Voodoo Nation Kickstarter and where they can find you on social media.
So yeah, I don't have a fancy link for this one. So you're going to have to go to Kickstarter and look for Voodoo Nations and you'll find it. We're in, like I said, in the projects we love, and we need a little bit more help to fund. We're about 700 under to fund, which is, 20 days to do it. So we're going to fund. That's not a problem, but love your support, and supporting us on the Kickstarter does not prevent you from getting this. If you back the Kickstarter, the collector's kit, you're not going to be able to get this cover. So make sure that you let Danny know that you want this cover because that's not on the campaign. And if you need the whole set, and I know people in the collective who are still hunting down the complete set. Yep. Like they're contacting stores in Texas and others trying to find it. Now, this is the first one we've announced. Go ahead.
If they back physically and they're coming, to the store for the signing, can they pick up their rewards here in the store?
They absolutely can. And in fact, if they buy this cover and back the thing, we'll throw in an extra print. I'll have Luke draw something up. We'll throw in an extra print. I'll have Luke draw. We have actually not had a print with Maria and Bishop Lucas together. So I'll have him make something specifically that I will have that day for it. And this is even for people online. I know a lot of you guys watch us online. If you let Danny know that you want it, and then you let me know in the campaign when you fill out your survey, hey, I ordered the collective one. I know they don't have a pre-sale yet, but the collective's really good at keeping the numbers, We'll get you that print. You'll get an exclusive print that'll have Maria and Bishop Lucas. The only time we're going to put them together, we may do it for issue 4, but the first time we'll put them together in an image.
Perfect. And we'll toss in 4 extra stamps if you do that as well, if you're coming in the store and you're picking up, because everybody knows our stamp card program that'll almost get you halfway to $10 or 15 if you're a member. But that's awesome, Travis. That's why we love Travis, because not only does he do good books, he does cool things. Like his Kickstarter stuff is popular not just because of his product, but because he does really great tiers, really fun things. Cthulhu Invades Oz had a lot of fun tiers. Mike right there says, I will ask Trish. She loves that kind of stuff. So yes, and you guys who do shipped, same thing applies to you guys. Totally can send us a message and we'll take care of it. Travis, thank you so much for coming on last minute, man. We'll have you and Luke on one more time before the Kickstarter ends to have you guys both just talk about the book and everything. But thank you for coming on, man, and have a great rest of your day.
No problem. One other thing you asked about timing, and I ignored that question completely. So the book is done. I actually plan on sending it to the printer before the Kickstarter is done. So we're looking at July or August. So I'll be there very soon. We'll probably even do a Broke Down and Voodoo Nations because it'll be that soon.
Yes, because we do have Broke Down coming soon. Broke Down issue 4 coming very soon too, because you said you're picking it up Friday.
Correct. So I'll probably send some out, and then I'll come out. I'll send them out so the people who want them can get them. But I'll then do a signing, in a few weeks after that.
Cool. Well, I'm going to show the cover one more time so people can get a look at that. Super happy about that. Mark Oliver, Travis Gibb, Luke Stone Interiors. Thank you very much for coming on, Travis. You have a good rest of your day, and we'll see you around, brother.
See ya.
So let me put Travis backstage. Whoops. Look at that. That's live TV for you, baby. Hey, so thank you very much to Travis Gibb, who is the writer of so many books as Voodoo Nations and Broke Down 4 Dead Bodies. He did backup stories in actually he has a story in Mississippi Zombie that I just had out there. And also he is a part of the Collective Initiative Presents Tales from the Collective Initiative. So thank you very much to Travis Gibb. I've been Danny Morales. We will try to have Dave on next week or the week after that for Jenny Zero. Take it easy, guys, and we